Welcome to the Gridiron Roundup with your host, Randy Silver. We have your college football Week 11 review, storylines, scores, game review, Hesiman standings. But as we always do, what do we start with first for you? The college football AP Top 25 Week 12 rankings, analysis, reaction. Let's dive into it. Here are the rankings, just released less than an hour or two ago, so they're fresh off the press. Your AP Top 25. Nothing has changed in the top 8. Your top 5 are Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington. Then your other 3 in the top 8, Oregon, Texas, Alabama. Rounding out the top 10, Louisville and Oregon State. Last week, Florida State had 1 first place vote. Ohio State had 3, so they dropped down a bit. Georgia gained a couple after their win this week. Big win over Ole Miss. Rounding out the rest of your AP Top 25. Your first mover of the week was Louisville winning before Saturday. They moved up 2. Oregon State moved up 2. Missouri moved up 5 with that big win over Tennessee. Penn State dropped down with the loss to Michigan. Ole Miss dropped down with the loss to Georgia. Not that much, but they both got blown out. Penn State was a close game. Ole Miss got blown out. Oklahoma moved up 3, which is good for them after that big loss to Oklahoma State. We're going to show you what happened to Oklahoma State with that KO punch UCF put on them, which was wild. Did not expect that. LSU moved up 3. Utah moved down 3 with their loss to Washington. Tulane moves up 3. James Madison up 3, so a couple mid-major teams. Arizona beats Colorado at the death. Walk-off field goal moves up 4. Great for them. They have been doing a great job. Notre Dame moves up 2. Tennessee moves down 7 with that loss, unfortunately for them, to Missouri. North Carolina moved up 2, sitting at 22nd. Kansas State, not ranked, moves into the ranking. Only team moving in the ranking this week. Oklahoma State fell 9. Big win in Bedlam against Oklahoma. And then you go and throw a stinker against UCF. Whew! They were partying too hard all week. They're going to live off of that for a while, but what you did last week does not matter what you did the week moving into your next game. Liberty stayed at 25. They're 10-0. Good for them. Just also called James Madison is 10-0 as well. When we look at others receiving votes, Iowa, right there on the cusp. They have 111 votes. So if they win again, they probably bump in. Other teams right there who dropped out, Kansas. When we look at the AFCAT coaches poll, top 8's all the same. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida, Washington's your top 5. You can see here that Michigan only has 3 first-place votes. Ohio State 3 first-place votes. Georgia's got 58. A little bit less people vote in the coaches poll than the AP Top 25. And then you look at the rest of your top 10. Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Louisville, Oregon State. So your top 10 is the same throughout. And then as you go down, it's pretty even. Penn State, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, kind of all right there. 15 through 18, LSU, Utah, Tulane, exactly the same. And then 18 through 21, Notre Dame, Tennessee, North Carolina, and James Madison. James Madison, Arizona, and Notre Dame, Tennessee is right there. Iowa is in the poll here for the coaches poll. However, Liberty is not, so that would be your big difference. They do have some votes. Oklahoma State is still in this poll at 25th. They dropped 8. Tennessee dropped 7 here. So you can see that when we started doing this stuff beginning of the season, there was some big discrepancies at points. You never really knew what team was good. It was based off of potentially judgments and opinions. Now you have stats and facts to back it up. Records don't lie. All your undefeated D1 teams, top-tier teams, top 5. You have your 1 losses, 2, 3, and then the mid-majors are able to slide in as well. We have 2 weeks left in the regular season, so let's show you this really quickly. 2 weeks left. So we just had week 11. We have week 12, week 13. And then what is week 14? Conference championships. So who's already in conference championships? We're looking at Friday. New Mexico State and Liberty are already in their conference championships. Congrats to them. What conference is that? Conference USA. So we already know who's going to be there. It's going to be a fun game. That's on Friday. And the other games for Saturday that we already know, Georgia, Alabama. What conference is that? We know that one. SEC. This is the matchup we want to see. Alabama wins this game. They're in the title, BCS. They're in those playoffs. Georgia loses this game. Based off their record, they still may be there. Florida State has clinched one half of the ACC. We'll see who's the other half. We're going to go over that in the future part of the Gridiron Roundup. So stay here, of course. But they're in there. They need to stay in there for them to most likely move forward. Not the craziest strong strength of schedule like Georgia. However, Georgia's got the pedigree from what they've done the past couple seasons. Definitely has a little bit of judgment and weight. So that is going to be what we look forward to. Obviously, this next 2 weeks, we're going to be able to dwindle down what is happening. And what we care about, of course, is that college football rankings. So what are the rankings? These are the rankings from last week. They come out on Tuesday. So looking retrospective, you think Georgia, with that big win over Missouri, will go ahead and move forward. They did not. Now they go ahead and they got that win against Ole Miss. I think with those two ranked wins back-to-back, that will move Georgia up to number 1. Ohio State will fall to 2. Michigan did no wrong with their win over Penn State. Stay at 3. Florida State beat Miami a little bit closer than they probably hoped. Stay at 4 because undefeated. Hypothetically, maybe you move Washington up. They beat back-to-back ranked teams. They beat USC. They beat Utah. Florida State has not beat back-to-back ranked teams this past couple weeks. They may get a chance to move in. Oregon, a nice win against USC. They stay right there in the top 6. Texas almost blew their lead against TCU in state game. Always can be tough, but they scored basically 14 unanswered points on Texas in the final frame. It might have been actually 21. So they left their foot off the gas. Not going to put you in the top 5. Alabama's hung right there after their one loss, and then you kind of go through. Ole Miss will probably pop down with their loss to Georgia. Penn State will pop down, and so we'll see the same effect of what happened in the other polls. So this comes down Tuesday, and of course we'll be reviewing for you. Heisman watch. Your leader is still Michael Penix Jr. No reason to not have him as number 1. Easily number 1. Let me say it one time. Easily number 1. He's going to win. Good reason. He leads the nation in passer yards with 3,201. Top 10 passer rating. 26 touchdowns. His team's undefeated. Just beat back-to-back ranked teams. He made Caleb Williams cry in his mom's arms. I'm a UFC fan, so I can say that. However, you got to respect talent and respect the game, and he's up there and deserves to be number 1. 2 is Bo Nix at Oregon, so 2 Pac-12 teams, 2 Pac-12 QBs right there. Had a pretty good game, showed against USC what he's made of. Again, did the same thing when Colorado came to town, but not the best team. Jordan Travis, QB Florida State, is number 3. J.J. McCarthy, nice performances the past couple weeks, but I don't think they give him the Heisman, especially with all that's gone on with Michigan. They probably want to stay away from that just a tiny bit. Marvin Harrison Jr. is there as well, but honestly, it is Michael Penix Jr.'s to lose. So let's talk about some news for you. Biggest news of the day, Jimbo Fisher, head coach at Texas A&M, is not the head coach anymore. He is fired. $76 million payout. One more time. $76 million payout. I wouldn't coach again. I would go live my life, travel the world, have fun, do whatever you want to do. But getting paid out to not do a job, God, what a life. What a life. They will owe $19 million within the next 60 days and then pay him $7.2 million through 2031. The next 8 years, he's going to get $7 million check and change. No offset or mitigation on those payments, and annual payments start 120 days after termination. So there's no way they can't pay it. He's going to get it. And the best part, when this says right here, there's no offset or mitigation, meaning he's owed it. He can go coach at another school, no holds bar. Sometimes if you get fired and you go coach somewhere else, that means that you're not going to get those payments. Here, you're going to get the payments fully. What's the quote? After very careful analysis of all the components related to Texas A&M football, I recommend to President Mark Welsh and then Chancellor John Sharp that a change in leadership of the program was necessary in order for Aggie football to reach our full potential, and they accepted my decision. This is from Texas A&M Athletic Director Ross Bajort. He's saying in the statement, we appreciate Coach Fisher's time here at Texas A&M and wish him the best in his future endeavors. What was his record? Fisher was 45-25 in 6 seasons. Not what you expected for such a high contract, $10 million contract, when he signed that 10-year, $95 million contract, guaranteed in 2021. That deal was given in part because of potential time Fisher leaving for LSU, but hey, maybe they should let him go. Texas A&M right now 6-4, so they are bowl eligible. Good for them. Always a big feat, regardless of your expectations. 4-3 in the SEC. They beat Mississippi State 51-10. But when you're competing against the Alabamas, Georgias, Ole Miss of the world, you're expecting to be there. You're paying that much money for a coach. You want to be in the national title conversation, and they are not. So we wish them the best. With Jimbo Fisher being fired, let's take a look at his replacements. Top tier candidates. You can see the picture of Oregon coach right here. Oregon's a great school, get paid well. They're moving to the Big Ten. So does he want to move to the SEC? As we know, SEC is the mecca of coaching. Go against the best. You can recruit the best players. We can see A&M has the money to get you what you want, who you want, what you need type of vibe. So could be a good opportunity. Also, you got Duke coach Mike Elko. What he's been able to do at Duke is impressive. With a school that's historically a basketball school, going in there and competing in football, in there for the ACC title this year, was nationally ranked for a little bit. He was Fisher's top assistant from 2018-2021. So he's proved that he can be the head coach. He knows a lot of the students there. He knows the system, knows the leadership at the school. Could be a good appealing. University of Texas San Antonio coach. Could be a big get for them as well. Jeff Traylor. We talked about Oregon coach Dan Lanning. Who else could be there? Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. I don't know why you'd leave Ole Miss to go to A&M. I mean, in both SEC schools, it comes down to money and resources. You got Washington coach Kalen DeBoer. Again, they're going to the Big Ten. Washington's a big program. They're doing really well. They have been doing consistently well. Does he want to go down to SEC? Sonny Dykes has been all over the block at TCU. Kansas State coach has done well with the team. James Franklin, maybe his time at Penn State's over. I saw something that the NFL coach that could go there is Dan Campbell from the Lions. He is an A&M alumni, so something he should go back to. But he's got a great thing going at Detroit. Why would you want to leave that? I don't think he does that. So Michigan, have to bring it up, keep you all up to date. Michigan silencing allegations. What's next with Jim Harbaugh, Big Ten? So as you know, he was suspended on Friday, 3 games, rest of the regular season for not being, what's the right way to say it? Sportsmanlike in the program. So his punishment is a punishment on the whole program. Michigan is trying to appeal that and get a subpoena and make sure that it doesn't happen. Get a restraining order, not subpoena. That has not happened yet. It's Veterans Day weekend, so if you're a veteran out there you're watching, thank you for everything you've done. Courts are closed. It's public holiday on Monday. Kind of tough to get it done, even on something that is such a scale where lawmakers and people may be trying to help. So we'll see if he gets to coach the final 2 games, but he did not coach, and they beat Penn State. It's been firing up the program. The slogan is Big Ten versus the world. This is something to stay on top of. Penn State fired their offensive coordinator, Mike Urich. This was after the game when they lost to Michigan. The unit struggled mightily against Michigan, had trouble moving the ball, did not score a lot of points. They only scored 15 points and managed 238 yards on offense, 74 through the air. So again, maybe this is a sign that, as we said, James Franklin, maybe he's looking somewhere else, but I know he likes being at Penn State. He said it. So let's talk about some scoreboard for you. Again, earlier before Saturday, Louisville beat Virginia. Ohio State crushed Michigan State. Georgia crushed Ole Miss. Michigan beat Penn State. A little bit closer than the score shows. Florida State was able to beat Miami. Again, this was a close game. Florida State at 10-0. Not the most solid 10-0. They barely beat BC early in the season, things like that. Washington beat Utah. There was a blender play where Washington could have had a pick 6, and the player dropped the ball before the end zone. And bonehead play. We've seen that every time, maybe a couple of years. Did not cost them. If it did, that guy would have felt terrible. I'm sure he still feels terrible. Oregon beats USC. You can see that they were winning most of the game. USC tried to make that fourth quarter comeback, something they've done quite a bit this season, not against a good Oregon defense. Texas was crushing TCU, up 26-6 going into the fourth quarter. You give up 20 points, not something you want to see, especially as they try to go into the Big 12 championship game. Alabama crushed Kentucky. Oregon State crushed Stanford. Missouri beat Tennessee. This was not a big shocker when you look at the rankings, 13 through 14. But in terms of rivalry, this is big. Good win for Missouri right there. Oklahoma State lose to UCF massively, 45-3. They only scored a field goal. One more time, a field goal. You go in and you win against Oklahoma, but then you go out and throw a stinker against UCF, who's not even qualified. I mean, they still got 2 games left, but not qualified for a bowl game yet. Not a good showing. Great for UCF. Congrats to them. Big program win for them. Texas Tech beat Kansas, so that's why Kansas dropped out of the rankings. Big loss for them. Also going back to Oklahoma State, UCF almost beat Oklahoma. Imagine if they would have beat both Oklahoma schools. Been amazing for them. Speaking of Oklahoma, beat West Virginia pretty handily. LSU beat Florida. Arizona beat Colorado in a walk-off field goal. Dion has to win his last 2 games to even make a bowl. 3-0 Promise now won 1 of their last 7 games. Brutal. Iowa shut out Rutgers. Tulane beat Tulsa. North Carolina beats Duke. And Kansas State beats Baylor. So again, Duke started with promise, was nationally ranked. I think they were in the top 10. This is a very close rivalry game. They were like 10 miles apart, if that. North Carolina gets the W. So we talked about the schedule. This is what's going to happen here if in a couple weeks when we have conference championships. This will all be leveled out. And then these are all the games that have happened from this week. We're going to scroll quickly so you can see your favorite team. Go ahead and pause if you need to. Air Force losing, lost back-to-back games after being undefeated. Tough for them. So now let's look at the standings where we're at. The AAC, Tulane 6-0, SMU 6-0, UTSA is 6-0. Massive when we look at the rankings. A couple losses from non-conference games, but this is going to be a dogfight to see who will be able to come out of this conference as the leader. ACC, we already talked about Florida State's in one half of the conference championship. Louisville's in the prime position to face them with only 1 loss in conference. As long as they win out, they're good to go. If they do lose, you can see a bunch of teams right there have 2 losses, are fighting for it. Big 12, Texas in prime position. They win out. They will be in the conference championship game. We look here, Oklahoma State. If they would have won out, they would have been right there with them. They potentially still hold their own destiny based off of tiebreakers, but it's much tougher. Look at all those teams with 2 losses. 1 more loss, and you're out. Big 10, looks like it's going to be Iowa moving in from the West in the conference title game. Basically 2-game advantage for 2 left. It will be them. Right here, it's now down to Ohio State and Michigan when they play. Woo! Playing, it's basically title game before title game. Basically a BCS eliminator before it's a BCS eliminator. So this will be fun to see. And hopefully Jim is on the sideline for that because we want to see everyone at their top of the top. We talked about for Conference USA. Liberty and New Mexico are already in the finals for them. Good for them. Here are the independents. Mid-American, Miami, Ohio is 5-1. They control their own destiny right now. Toledo is 6-0. They're in their one half. They're going to be there. Mountain West, Air Force lost to Hawaii. So they still, but Hawaii, you can see here, it's in the conference. Their 1 loss was against Army, who's not in the conference. That's why they only have 1 conference loss. Them and UNLV are at the top, control their own destiny. Pac-12, Washington and Oregon control their own destiny. If they win out, they're good to go with that 1 loss. With the 2 losses, you can see Arizona has moved from a pretty poor start to the season. I think they would start 0-2 and have won. They've won 4 straight, so they were not 0-2. But they're doing pretty good. Oregon State right there. USC basically is out of it now with the 3 losses. Colorado at the very bottom. Washington State started, I think they were ranked to start the season, and look where they're at because once they hit the Pac-12, they dropped. And then SEC, we talked about Alabama and Georgia are already in the conference finals. Sunbelt, James Madison 6-0, controls their own destiny. They're right there. Same with Troy, Trojans. Your weekly leaders, John Paddock, QB from Illinois. 500 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 216 rating. Unbelievable. Great weekend by him. Jordan McCard, JMU, 457 passing. You can see other people at 400. Rushing leaders was it QB? You kidding me? Jaden Daniels, 203 yards rushing, 12 carries. That means he had a couple long scampers. Yard per carries, 19.5 as a QB, 2 touchdowns. Woo! Have yourself a day, son. That keeps you in the Heisman Trophy contention. And the rest are running backs. And then you got receiving leaders. Reggie Brown, JMU, 202 yards. Isaiah Williams, wide receiver, Illinois, 200 yards. Nobody else was above 169. Both had 2 touchdowns. Good for them. And then we look at the overall stat leaders. Penix Jr., 3,500 yards throwing. Congrats to him. Caleb Williams, second, 32. Jaden Daniels right there, LSU, 3,164. We talked about his rushing day, which was impressive. Jason Henderson, ODU, crushing tackles, 152. 30 more tackles than the next closest player. Rushing, Ollie Gordon, 1,250. Good for him. Leading Omarion Hampton by 14 yards. Jalen Green for sacks, 15.5. Trey Moore's got 14. Receiving, Malik Neighbors, LSU, 1,284. Malik Washington, UVA's about to hit 1,200. And a couple other right there. And the interceptions, Xavier Watts, Notre Dame has 7. Congrats to all those players. Keep up your great performances. That is your college football week 11 review. Big wins, big losses, movers in the standings. Comment your thoughts. How'd your favorite conference do? How'd your favorite team do? And of course, subscribe here to the Gridiron Roundup on Randy Silver TV, and we'll keep you updated every week with college football news, stories, and so much more. We're getting close to the bowl season, our favorite time of season. And go ahead and check out all the other videos on the YouTube channel. I got analysis videos for other sports, vlogs, and sports reporting videos from going to games. So let's keep you updated. I love it. Have a great day, y'all.